Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Arendelle Speedway toy box for my next episode of Toy Box Tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at the different stunt ramps that are available in the toy box, because we're going to spend the next few weeks building a stunt driving game that will utilize some of these ramps, so it's worth taking a quick look at them. We're going to build that little stunt park right here in this arena. So you'll find most of the stunt ramps in the racetrack pieces drawer, and I covered these two back in episode 67, so I'm not going to do that again. But if you scroll to the right, we have some additional pieces, and they've got quite a variety. We have this stunt park clover pool, which is just massive, and this full pipe, which is also massive. And then if you go to the right, and most of you probably know about these if you've played in the toy box for very long, but we come to the X Games stunt ramps. And then we have the icy versions. And we're going to use these icy versions for our park. And we're going to place a few of these down. Let me just throw them up here against this wall really quick. Just a few. One thing I want to point out is that there is a size difference between these. So the icy ones are much smaller than the wooden X Games ones. So that's important to note. But none of these pieces, unlike the ones we looked at back in episode 67, none of these have the logic menu available. So you cannot, unfortunately, connect these to a path or hook up other toys to them. They're just standalone ramp pieces, unfortunately. And they also only work with ground vehicles, so you can't use them with a hoverboard to build a snowboarding pipe. Believe me, I tried. It just doesn't work very well with hoverboard vehicles. But let me show you something here with these ramps, because the placement of them is very important. And we'll go ahead and hop on our little snowmobile here. I have too much fun on that thing. Alright, so let's go ahead and try out the ramps. And you'll notice it doesn't really work very well when they're up against the wall. The wall actually interferes with your attempt at doing stunts. So you can't place them too close to a wall or another tall object, unfortunately. Your little character can get hurt. So you have to place these out away from the wall a little bit in order for this to work. And that way that gives you enough space to be able to come off the top of this and do some things. So what that means is we're going to have to place a few little spacer blocks. I'm going to use this ice stunt block to do that. So we'll place this back in this corner. We'll do a couple of them like that. And we'll place those around the perimeter of the park. I actually have to lower those. But then this piece will sit right down here like that. And this gives you a little surface to land on if you happen to not do so well with your stunt. So we'll place these around the perimeter. And you'll notice those little pipes are about too wide. So when we put these up in here, we'll end up building something that looks like that. And I'm going to go ahead and place these around the perimeter of this arena, and I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, so there we have our arena for the most part. The middle is a little bit empty, but we have these stunt mounds that we can place over here in the middle. We have this one, and we have that one, which is bigger, so we'll use the smaller one here. I'm going to try to line it up with the opening there that leads in, and that's centered pretty well, I think. And that just adds something kind of interesting there to the middle of this thing. And so we can come out here now. And with the spacing away from the walls, we should be able to do our stunts without any trouble. Whoops. Assuming Mickey can drive. Which I'm sure Mickey can drive fine. It's actually me that has the problem. Seriously, this is easier than it looks. There we go. Oops. Poor Mickey takes a lot of abuse when I drive. But anyway, you get the idea. Alright, there's one more ramp that's available, and this one is not in the racetrack pieces. It's actually in the gameplay toys drawer, and it's the towable ramp. And let me bring this out here, just where we can play with this a little bit. I'll drop this down here. This is from the Cars playset, and as far as I can tell, it can only be towed by the Cars characters. Ground vehicles driven by other characters can't tow them. And so if I were to bring my snowmobile up here, or any other ground vehicle that a non-Cars character can drive, I don't know why they didn't make this available for all of these guys, but oops. Why didn't you put me next to my snowmobile? So if we come over here and we hop on and we drive up to this thing, we don't have the little menu that tells us we can pick this up. But if we take Mickey off the base and we put in one of the Cars characters, like Lightning McQueen,
ready to see where the road takes me.
We back up to this thing. You'll see we now have the option to tow it, and then we can take this thing wherever we want to go. So only the Cars characters can do this, unfortunately. And then to disengage, you have to fling it. You have to throw it. You press X on my Wii U, according to the lower right corner there, to let it go. And even if I try to bring this thing right where I want it to go, and I press X, he still throws it. And all I did was press the X button. So unfortunately, it's not real accurate. Although I have been able to play with this a little bit and get him to leave it. It just doesn't seem to work consistently. And you also can't back up when you're towing something. So unfortunately that doesn't work either. But this little towable ramp can be used to create little puzzles. Some driving puzzles maybe for the Cars characters, where they have to tow that ramp. Again, it makes it hard to place it exactly where you want it, but I wanted you to just be aware that that toy exists, because it's not located with the other toys. And if you're like me, you probably just skip over it when you're browsing through the gameplay toys drawer, wondering what you would ever do with it. And if you happen to have a character and you hopped on this, you probably weren't able to figure out how to tow that, so hopefully that little tip helps. You have to use a Cars character. And the other thing you'll notice is there's no logic menu with that. Oops, that was weird. All I did was spin the camera around. Oh, it threw it back over here. That's kind of a buggy toy, but... So there's no logic menu, so you can't connect that to a path or do anything with it either. So unfortunately, it's not a very useful toy. The other thing I noticed when I was playing around with that was that when I could get it positioned where I wanted it to, and I tried to use it to jump over some things, it worked, but you can actually jump higher if you use the double jump as the car's character when you're just driving. You can actually get higher than if you're driving off that ramp. So I don't see that it's very useful. So, which is a bummer because it seems like there's some opportunities missed, but that's it for stunt ramps. There's not much to them, so you probably didn't learn much today, but maybe this episode served as a reminder that these ramps exist, and in the next few episodes I'm going to show you some things you can do with them, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you go. Have a great weekend.